Okay, welcome to the first ever Open Up Dad podcast. I'm very excited. It's been, a couple months now of doing Instagram lives. And like I said, it was originally just kind of for me to meet other people and kind of feel better about what I was doing. And now it's become this like really beautiful community. And the only reason it's really becoming a podcast is because of everyone who listens. And so today I'm very excited. I have my friend Davide, Mr. Italy, we should say. Congratulations to him for the Euro Cup. I have him on today. Davide is someone that I met kind of in the middle of the pandemic. His wife was pregnant. I had just had my baby. Davide, if you know him, you love him. He's just a ball of light and a ball of love. He's incredibly talented, and I can't wait to interview him. So let's do it. Davide, hello. Welcome.
Buongiorno. Buongiorno,
Dad.
I will say today. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Let's start with, can you give us just like a little intro into you? I obviously know you, but maybe not everyone does.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me.
Of course.
I feel the pressure of the first time. It's a nice feeling, and I would like it to start saying that. Of course, I'm a big fan of you as a person and of your family. But most important, I'm a big fan of what you are meticulously building with this podcast and the message behind, which it will come out. Of course, I know you. We've been talking, so I got the whole picture, but I'm sure that it will come out. It will be clearer for people moving forward. So, bravo. Very nice, Miles. I'm a big fan. That being said, so we met. I would say LA really didn't have a real lockout, but we met at the peak of that of the time. Like we met here in my house. We were outside, social distancing, being very responsible about being together, and I think I had a man crush on you, Miles. My wife was like, I'm like, I really like this guy, and myself, I'm on the I'm in the building of something, and I would like to thank you also for being part of it in a sense. It was great to shoot you for Gaia, and thank you for that. I think I never. Thank you for, publicly for that. And I think, without being too dramatic on the first line, I think I think we are the example of. It's like, when yesterday I was actually talking to your wife about it. It's curious how in life you tends to naturally surround yourself with people that somehow you feel connected to because of what we do in life, because of what we are facing, and becoming a father. I think it's like I was like, if he's that cool being a dad, I think it was inspiring. I think I'm like, I can try. Joking aside, it's nice to see how all the people that we have around, and I'm happy to be part of the community is now facing this time in life.
Yeah. So Davide, I equally obviously had a man crush on you. Now we are very good friends, but I find that your life has been so interesting. You are from Sicily.
Correct.
Were basically a pro soccer player, football.
Correct, for a little time. Exactly.
Then you got into fashion, and now you are in Pasadena with your own store and your own line. Can you just walk us through?
Making cashmere sweater in south of Pasadena might not be the smartest thing you can do, but
just walk us through your life, though.
Absolutely, I will
insane.
try to recap it My English is not yet. I don't necessarily have the gift of recap yet, of reassuming things, but I will try to do my best. I was born and raised in the east side of the island of Sicily, volcano side, and I'm the last of 6 kids, and very, very humble environment, very humble family, but extremely happy, I would like to say. And the only, growing up in a tiny, it's not a little place geographically, like in Sicily is actually a quite large island, but you grew up in a place that doesn't necessarily give you too many outlets. So most likely, if you are lucky enough, you ended up having your father's job. Right. If you have a father, or if you have the path to follow. My father was a mechanic. He built the elevators. Wow. And my mother was a mom. My mother was just a mom. And my father recently retired. And till these days, I think he has no idea of what I do and why I do it, and the dynamics of it. I remember I went to my first appointment with Pia, to our first wholesale client, Agaya, so my brand. And I called him back. I was crying. I was so excited. And I explained to him who the client was. And he answered me, "Are they going to pay you for the sweaters?" Thinking there was just a deal, there was just enough to be part of it. But anyway, back to the story. I left Sicily, and around the age of 21. For all the first 2 decades of my life. At the age of 17, I got my first contract, and I tried to navigate to that path as gracefully as I could. Again, the limit of the island was based on the structure. We only had 2 professional teams at that point, and I played for both of them. And 2 years in my first contract, at the second year, the team that bought me, the team that signed me, bankrupt. Oh man! So I tried to move out of Sicily. I went to play in other 2 teams. Long story short, between my ankles and between my manager and probably Miles, I'm not a big fan of people that of big if this, if that, if what. Probably I wasn't as consistent and as talented I wanted to be, and so I gave it up and I started selling things. My first job was in sales. I was selling phone contract. Wow. And door-by-door phone contract. And after that, I pretty much sold everything I could sell to people. I stole AC, I sold lamps, I sold ministerial certifications. I sold solar panels for a year. By the way, Sicily has only 20% of the full solar panel system in Italy, which being the most closer to Africa and the most exposed to south is a paradox, but that's the reality of the south of Italy. And I moved to Milan when I was 21, and I started working with this company called Sud Supply, this Dutch company. And I had an incredible run with them, and I learned, I would say, everything I knew. And, I think you can relate to this. We being at the same generation, we are, I think, the last generation that is a perfect duo, is a perfect combo between analog and digital, in a sense. Yes. we kind of feel in this new world and social media and into this at a young age, but we are still son and daughters of buying magazines and yes. poster and looking around for things and discovering things. And I also think that we are the last generation of people that was happy already admiring other people. you didn't necessarily need to know how an athlete or an artist or somebody did something. You were happy enough to just supporting them and to glorify them.
Wow, that's
You
such
know,
an interesting point. You're totally right. I mean,
because now, yeah,
I love
it,
that. Yeah.
yeah, the first thing that now people ask you is, how did you do that?
Yeah.
How can I do that? I want to do it myself.
Right.
I think that um, is very generational. It's very actual.
Hmm.
After Suit Supply, I work with them in mostly. I work for the company for about 3 years around north of Europe, UK. I moved out of Italy with them in 2012. I went to live in Amsterdam, where the company was based. They sent me to China, where production was,
Wow.
and I experienced that, and it was incredible. And then I moved to the States in 2013, and that's where I met the president of Brunello Cucinelli, which is a Sicilian guy like me, and I started working for Brunello in 2013, and I was very lucky to be able to work for somebody like him. And in 2017, after proposing my wife on a trip to Italy to marry me, they offered me a very, very generous job in Italy, and I brought Pia to this little village, and in tears, she just told me, I think I can move out here. I cannot. And so I resigned, and in 2018, March 2018, I moved to California. We first lived in Venice for a minute, and then we are today living in what what was the child, my wife's childhood house. And yeah, I started the brand in 2018. We started with Wassell, and 20 at the beginning of the pandemic, we launched our e-commerce, and we recently opened our first retail store,
Wow.
which I'm extremely happy about it.
What a journey, man. What a journey. That's
Thank you,
insane. I absolutely
thank you.
love that. I mean, I equally had a pretty colorful life, so it's always nice to have, be kindred spirits with someone who's the same. So, with that being said, I would like to say, and I did promise you I wouldn't make you cry, so I'm not
That
going
was the
to.
only
Yeah,
condition that I gave it to
I'm
you.
not gonna
Yes.
make you cry, but I
Very
feel
emotional right now.
I feel like, you know, in some ways I feel like I was very much like able to watch, you know, you and Pia's journey from pregnancy to parenthood. And the last couple of weeks now that California has been open, I've been able to like be with your family a lot. We've been having barbecues, whatever, and I've seen the way you both are with your daughter, but especially you. And it makes me really proud of you. It's really inspiring as well. But was being a dad always something that you wanted? I mean, you do come from a family of six. I understand that. But have you always wanted to be a dad, or did you just kind of
um,
fall into it?
Meanwhile, I would say, not to give you a compliment back, you would be rocking with your front pack and your mobile noise machine, white noise machine, walking around my kitchen with your beautiful dog. Talking about inspiration. For sure, Miles, I think I mentioned to you a few things about Sicily. It's a very basic, in a sense, narrow-minded in a sense, but very simple, and I see some beauty in the way we grow up, and the way we think, and the simplicity of our social fabric is fascinating to me, in the sense that you grow up with the idea that one day building a family is the natural evolution of you as a person.
Right.
And of course, I see some beauty, and I see also some sadness about that the mindset, because it's not really flexible. It's not really open to it doesn't really allow you to picture yourself in any different way growing
Right.
up. but being a dad or getting a job, and pretty much a job that would be 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. and manual job, something that will legitimize you as a macho man, and so like, but looking at the nice, looking at the glass half full, I would say, yeah, you grew up in an environment that really, that really like, yeah, that seems to be the only option for you, you know, like I grew up that way, and my father, sadly, today we might don't have the best relation for different reasons, but he was a great dad. He's still alive. He retired a few years ago, and my father didn't have a father, and my father. So my name is actually what it was my grandmother name. So what it was his mother name, because his father, his biological father, never recognized it.
Right.
So, you know, here you are, Sicily, 1950. My grandmother, being a single mom, wasn't necessarily the ideal situation. So she left my father at the age of 2 on an institute, on an orphanage, and my father grew up there. So I'm giving you that as a frame, just to say that I was always impressed by the instinct and the will that my father had to be a good father, and I was inspired by that. And one I remember being a kid, and you know, for I think for the people that are lucky to have the figure in their life, you think your dad is a superhero, and me wondering him how you become a dad, and once he said to me, is you teaching me how to do that.
Wow, that's
so and yeah, so I always found that interesting, and I always found fascinating how the natural instinct of being a father or being a mother, how that instinct developed is seeing my wife, is pretty fascinating. Yeah, and you know, so yeah, I grew up with that idea, and loved the idea that one day, when I left Italy, being a contemporary gypsy, a contemporary immigrant, it was beautiful to think that one day I might be able to have somebody else carrying my name, or you know, starting the legacy of my family in another country.
Yeah, and that's really interesting to me because I guess I'm more like your dad, where I didn't grow up with a father. So there's times where I think we do forget that family, parenthood, having babies, getting married, there is a culture around that. It's a part of
Totally,
our fabric. You know,
totally.
you're a certain age, you should get married, you should have kids. But the one thing I really like about our generation is that a lot of us aren't doing that. We're deciding that we don't want that. But you and I are the guy type, you know, we obviously decided we did. But what's interesting to me, and just through talking to you multiple times, is like, you know, being Sicilian is such a part of your DNA. But I've also watched you, and even by what you just said, like you're really redefining it all for yourself. Like you are constantly in this state of redefining. And has that been difficult? You know, like you come from this like village, you're, you know, you speak Italian, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, California, whether it's sunny and beautiful or not, it is a vastly different culture. And so now you're not only faced with a culture coming at you just as a person, but also you're now being faced with a culture coming at you as a husband and a father. So
Yeah,
what's that like?
I would say to you that I don't know if this will make sense to you, but in my experience, um, change or exploring new places always is always been something exciting. So, like, you know, here I am, I live in Sicily. And I remember, again, we were both choking at the first 5 minutes of your podcast. I think we weren't doing a good job on that. But, you are a young man, you live in a very small town and everything. If you are a little bit more dynamic as a person, as a profile, it started being tight on you. And sport was like the dream. And once I had to emotionally shift that feeling on a normal job. Once I did that, change and exploring new places and being in new cities and not being able to speak a language or not knowing the food that I was about to eat was very exciting for me. I was alone. I was on my own. I was on my path. I had a bag, and I would have jumped on a plane. I would have jumped on any opportunity like this. So when I arrived here, the difference was that I was on a different stage of my life. I arrived in California in 2018 after 5 years of New York, exhausted, and I was an adult person, and dropping my career for my wife, which is I will always choose. Looking back, I will choose her and this all the time, again and again and again. It was a little bit hard on me, also because here I am. I was working for a cashmere company, so I was all dressed up. I was bullied by people, like I was always feeling outside of place. Everything here, you arrive from a level of intensity and from a different pace. And then you're like in Venice Beach, where everybody are very, very, everybody are enjoying life. In a sense, it reminds me of Sicily as people approach life here.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find a place where to have breakfast, a place where to have food. Even if I make clothes and I love my job, I think food is democratically is the easiest way to find comfort, to find yourself, to find the place where you come from, to find feelings that were very familiar to you as a kid. And it was hard, Venice Beach, everybody talking about vegan food and gluten-free food and almond extract of something. And here I am. I was a pasta pomodoro guy for like every day for like 300 days a year. So, I struggle a little bit. But most, I think, thanks to my wife, I found my way. And thank you mentioned community before, which is a word that I'm starting being afraid people might use it too often. But I was lucky to have great people around my wife, and I was lucky to feel in. To feel in easily. I found people welcome me for sure. I feel very happy about them, Miles. I feel very happy about it. I don't give it for granted.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you and I are very lucky in the way that we have found family outside of our family, but that actually brings me to my next question for you is, you have a newborn. Like my kid is 9 months old. She can crawl. She can kind of emote. You have a brand new baby. And when I had a brand new baby, a newborn, I was a mess. Everything scared me. I felt so out of my body. I felt like I didn't know how to do anything. I felt so insecure. And, I don't feel like maybe you feel those ways, but I don't feel like you do. It's like you have so much confidence in your abilities already. And it's like, I think there's a lot of us new fathers who the first thing you feel is like, maybe it's a thing because we're taught this as men, I don't know, but you kind of go like, all right, I'm jumping in the deep end. And then you get in the deep end and you're like, oh man, I don't really know how to swim. But for you, it's like, I feel like you don't have that wall in front of you. So if you do have that wall, how do you combat it? How do you do this? Because it seems so seamless for you.
Thank you. No, but I think I don't want to. First of all, I don't want to get too many credits. I think I have a wonderful person next to me, and I'm extremely happy to share life with her. I think, Miles, this is a very you can articulate this answer in a more complex way. It has so many layers. I would say that first of all, you've been mentioning culture and the place I come from and the place that where I build my persona, and I would say that I kind of grew up a little bit with that necessity to kind of jump on things. Like I was sometimes a little bit forced into that, and when you live out of your comfort zone, and thank God that was the case for me. You do that daily. Everything is like, and you I think you can relate to that. You figure out things constantly without even
Yeah.
understanding you're doing that, and you just like, okay, let's see what this is about. And and to be honest with you, that's also the beautiful part of it, in the sense that that's the salt of life. I would like also to say that, to use a parallelo, it's like when people in the States, you say something that really uh, making the distinction between having a newborn and a baby. It's like when people here says to me, oh, it's very European. And we talked yesterday about this, and it's like, yeah, European is a very generic term, between a Southern Italian guy and a Scandinavian boy that lives in Copenhagen. There are quite a lot of nuances.
Yeah.
And you said you have a newborn compared to your beautiful daughter, and that is now 1 year and 3 months, 1 year and 2 months.
She's almost 10 months, but close
10
enough.
months, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but close enough.
Justin, yesterday, another friend was home, and 10 months. And as far that could look from a newborn baby, you made the difference very specific, because it is true that it's different. It is true that already when I hold your daughter, it's not even my daughter, and she kind of interact with me,
Yeah.
it's a full different, she look at me, she smile me back, and she might give me a kiss. It's like, it's incredible. And we are here sounding like two idiots with our eyes, with our tired eyes. But that is the essence of the process, I guess. Like, I look at my daughter yesterday. I got lost for a minute looking at her, and it's I wish I could know how she feel about it, because somehow we can process thing and figuring it out.
Well, I found, like, why I love talking to people such as yourself. I felt through my daughter, I was able to really understand how scared of a person I've been my whole life. I really thought of myself as this guy, like I grew up in the punk community, like I didn't care, like I was a model, like I felt like forward facing, no one would have ever guessed how terrified I was. And through my kid, I'm now able to admit when I'm scared, because I had to admit I was scared when she was a newborn, because I was
Yeah.
so scared I couldn't do things. And it's been one of the biggest blessings in my life to just be able to admit fear. Like, for example,
Great point.
we're leaving at the end of this week to go visit our family in Europe. And I like looked at my wife yesterday and I was like, I just need a hug. I'm freaking out about flying. We've never flown this far with our kid before. I'm freaking out because now I have to like work in Europe and like being away from you guys for a week. I've never done that before. And instead of going at it and being like aggro or like trying to control the situation, I was able to say like, "Hey, I'm scared."
And
And
it's fine.
my daughter, I think, gave me that gift, and it's so amazing, and it's something that I personally, I think, it's not about women and men, but like personally, I think
Totally.
men especially, we are so like far away from being taught that, and it's so cool as dads because like I feel like because you're a dad, you're allowed to be sensitive. But
Yes,
it's bigger than that to me. It's like a metaphor for like just be scared and it's okay. And like
totally.
you and your story, it's like it just I can't help. I know I promised you I wouldn't
Okay.
make this
No, but
emotional, but
you're not being helpful. But yeah, no,
your story though is so
yeah,
inspirational
yeah.
to that fear that I think we have to allow ourselves as parents. Because if you came on my show and we're like, yeah, man, everything's chill, I'd be like, dude, shut up. You know what I mean?
No, but like I think Miles is once again. I think you really open to a to a to a more complex answer. Um, I think the fear. We are both new parent, and I think you can relate on that as well. You your biggest concern is how do I make this person somehow that is now processing new thing, how do I make sure that she will not be afraid to process everything in a very total way? And how do I make sure that she will live life, of course, the way she wants to live life and being who she wants to be in life? But not only, how do I make sure that at least I can give her the joy of experience the essence of life,
Yeah.
which is fear, which is love, which is affection, which is sadness, which is disappointment, which is you as a kid, it's so hard to process emotions,
Yeah.
and you don't even realize you're doing it. And then here you are, you are a grown-up man, and you face again, like paradox, you face again a process you had to face when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Now I'm afraid of this. How do I articulate that? How do I show that to other people? How do I express that to other people? You don't do that when you go on your first, I don't know, on your first date, or when
No.
you ride your first bicycle, or when you go out with friends for the first time, and you kind of know how to act, or how to, like, and this is just one more time in life that you have to face that. And you say something beautiful. I think it's not about men and women. I totally agree with you. There is this 80s pop rock song, this Italian band called Stadios wrote about it. That says, the women knows more than us, more than men's.
Mm.
And it's very, everything in the rear in Italy is borderline to be sexist, of course, but
Yeah.
the song itself says it was a compliment to women. They become mothers, they become lovers, they become wives, they become girlfriends, they become what they wanted to become in life. Saying
Right.
that they knows how to approach that. I see my wife, you know, where we might are looking at this baby, is like, so why she's crying? What is happening? Your first week, you are like sleepless, and you look at this little thing you made it, and you're like, are you hungry? Are you tired? Are you hurt? Like, are you? Do you work correct? Like, there is
Yeah.
something off. Like, something doesn't work. And somehow, like, you see how natural I'm just look at this baby, and I guess it's a little bit naive to look at that way, but I don't know. It's I don't know, man. It's I get lost still every morning when I look at her, and
Yeah.
there is in that fear. You say something beautiful. I really like what you said, and I think that fear is you think you know everything, you think you figure out about life and how to live and how to pay your bills and how to be a good person and to love somebody and to be in this world, and then this happen and you realize that you might didn't know that much.
I mean, 100%. And that's kind of the interesting part of it all too. And it's funny because the guests I have on the show are usually people that I look up to a lot, you being one of those people. But a lot of times the guests are also entrepreneurial. And, I guess I've found myself that I am also entrepreneurial. And it's not about if you have a 9 to 5, you're not
That's
entrepreneurial.
nice.
It's not a one is not worse than the other, but I found that like just that fear that we were talking about has now turned into this confidence. And so many people have asked me like, what do you want for your daughter? And I think a lot of people, especially in the Western world, it's like, oh, well, like I wanted her to have 40 million badillion dollars. And for me, I always say, I just want her to be confident. And people mistake confidence with cocky. Confidence is not cockiness.
Which is culturally very, it belongs to this country, I think, not to,
I
sorry, I
I
didn't want to interrupt.
I agree with you. It does belong to this country, but that's the other funny part and why I'm circling this all back in. And I hate to be like convoluted. I hope I'm not, but
I don't know.
watching my daughter learn her confidence, because I'm watching it. Like you've met my daughter. She's like doesn't care who's holding her. She's always smiling.
It's
She's
true.
always
It's true. It's
talking.
true.
She is
It's true.
so
Very curious, very analytical,
very
very
much
like
so. And she's a
always looking the room around.
baby. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, no amount of money or whatever you do is going to give your child the gift of confidence. And it's
Yeah.
funny because I've now watched myself get more confident because of how confident my 9.5-month-old baby is.
It's
And
beautiful.
it's just like every day you're like, God, can my life get any more weird and like confusing?
But you see, back to the point, we grew up as much as we grew up into different country and into different environment, family wise. We grew up with that idea. There is, I think, it belongs to those 80s and 90s, that it was the same in Europe. That money somehow, that your status could make everything. That your status was what it mattered.
Yeah.
Like the first wish that a parent will have for you, for people that grew up in our time, was, I hope you will get rich. I hope you will get successful. I hope you will get that job. I hope you will get that paycheck. I hope you will be this in life. And without really knowing that might be misleading on the building of a person, because like you just said, like, I don't really care about how rich my daughter will be. Like,
Yeah.
I like, for me, like, I see when I interact with my brother kid, and I am the uncle of America, lo zio d'America, no? I go back home and their first reaction is always towards to material things. It's like, so, and which I find extremely, extremely, extremely sad. But that's pretty much what society today, and social media is a beautiful tool, is a beautiful um, it's a very efficient tool that we have today, but that sometimes can be a little bit, especially for the younger generation, you might look at the wrong thing. You might look up of everything that is aspirational, and this has to be this way, and I gotta become this, and I gotta make this much money, and I gotta drive the car, and I gotta buy that pair of shoes. And so once again, I don't want to be too dramatic, but I think that's the difference between who you face in life, and what you don't realize before holding a baby of yours, is that since day one you are basically building on that person and on who that person will be. You say
Right.
something that is incredibly smart, like, your daughter does have component that in her first 10 months of life you guys share with her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, your daughter loves to hang out with people and to be held by other people. And you know, like she yesterday was staring at my beard and
Yeah.
like touching, like, oh, you're different than my dad, and you're
Yeah.
different than my grandfather, and like that's I like it to think that we, there is not that much that will change, you know, like you see today, unfortunately, you see 60 years old, 70 years old that react to new things in a very
Yeah.
scary way. And that's about the environment where you
I
grow up, you know.
I hope so. And it's something, I have a couple young dads who are fans of this show who I speak to. And I mean young. They're like 21, 22 years old.
Yeah.
And what I find really interesting with these guys is I don't know if it's because maybe it's like we've been saying this whole time, like maybe it's generational. I don't know. But the last thing these guys have ever brought up to me is money. They just are like, man, I'm so excited. Or like, man, like, did your wife do this when she was pregnant?
Yeah.
Or like, and I'm watching them and I'm just so like dumbfounded by like how eager they are to just be good dads. And it's like
Yeah.
maybe that shift is really happening. I hope. I mean,
Yeah.
look, we live in Los Angeles where like your car determines who's going to speak to you
Yeah.
that day. Like it's so silly.
Yeah.
But like talking to these youngsters, man, it's like it also makes me excited for my daughter because it's like
Yeah.
whether she's like whatever she likes, but like man, maybe you're really going to grow up with some kids who are raised by people who like really just cared about people.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Maybe
then
we're
yeah.
getting there. That would be amazing.
But you know, Miles, is the point, and I think is there are even here there are lots of layers, and I think some big guy up there should think about it. I think that it's it's like the dogs that try to catch its own tail, in the sense that that's the biggest fear is like I remember starting reading the first books, and when we figured out that we were pregnant, and watching the first movie, documentary or show, and one section was about um, how do I make sure that I'm checking my hospital bill,
Mm,
which till that point I never thought about it. You know, like I've been working in this country um, for companies before being entrepreneurial, and I was covered by life insurance. And I remember watching this, and I'm like, what it means? So, like, you know, you go to the hospital and they put you the bracelet, and the nurse will pass and scan your Advil, your
mhm.
vaccine, your whatever it is. And then, and I'm like, damn, that's, sorry for my French. I said, that's fucked up. Like
Yeah.
that's scary. You know, I think we are even in the position of privilege that we are today, you know, like it's not the best place to start your life from with your wife and a pregnancy. So I think that, you know, and that you don't know which part that we go.
Yeah.
You know, you might be concerned about what you're gonna valet driving car in a certain step of your age, and then here you are, you're concerned about, so to just have my daughter to be born,
Yeah.
this is the check, this is how much it costs. And you know, people always ask me, do you miss Italy, do you miss your life there? And my answer is that I firmly believe that this is my place in the world. But even in a country like Italy, with lots of question marks, and with the mess that we are in, politically and
Yeah.
economically, and you know, 50% unemployment, 60% taxes, big mess. But once again, I think the focus when you are facing something like this is never on that. It's more on like, okay, like we will think about that. You go to the hospital, we figure out. You think you get ready with your wife to be baby. You might want to paint a room of your house. You might want to move your bed a little bit to put the grate in your bedroom if you don't have a larger house. So it's like, I agree with you. It's a little bit sad, and I would say you mentioned being entrepreneurial. The biggest difference that I noticed in that is that, and I talked to you about business, so I think I know that the part of you as well, not only of the man, of the father, but also the professional. And it's so funny when we talk about our little girls, our little daughters, our newborns. We are so, our voice shake, and we are so concerned. Our eyes are so open, and when we switch to the job, out of the sudden we are like just confidently like, okay, so we plan this is scale, this is a calendar, this is what we do it. I'm planning this and that, because you might be scary and you might approach business. We call that fear in business. You easily turn in confidence and perseverance and ambition and energy and work ethic. Like, you wake up in the morning, you're so happy to do what you do, because bottom line, you kind of know what you're doing. At the bottom there is, your job, what you're doing. And being a father, the biggest difference is you have no idea what you're doing. So it's like being an entrepreneurial every day without changing every day what you're gonna do. Tomorrow I'm doing clothes, the day after I'm making something else.
Almost that becomes the easy part. Almost is
Bravo. That's what I was trying to say.
which is so funny, because that is maybe the hardest thing in life is to be.
It is, but like, I don't know if you experience. I work in offices, and when I was younger, and I was working in offices, and I would work with people that already had kids and a family. I was so mad. I'm like, how's that you are not putting the same intensity I'm putting as a 23 years old? Like, I can't, but I would go to my boss, they would have laughed at me. I would be like, how's that possible? The Tizio is not working as hard as I'm doing, and is not approaching this project as intensely as I'm doing. And the other side part was like a guy that is in my position today with maybe one or two kids that would have been just a little bit more mellow about projects. And now I get it.
But that's also the difference of, cocky versus confident. It's like, right. I need this. That's like your ego versus the guy who can walk into his store, make a coffee, and be like, I know how today's going to go. If it's bad, if it's good, whatever, because at the end of this day, I have a little baby waiting for me. And that's the biggest challenge in my life. This is a cakewalk now. And that's what's so interesting. So to wrap up this show, because I could literally I do talk to you most days for very
Davide,
I think, like I said at the beginning of this show, I think you are a person who approaches life with so much romance. And it's something that I think, to just make the theme of this show confidence, I think it does take a lot of confidence to approach life with the like gusto and romance that you do. And I'd love to know, like, if you could just give a kid who's about to have a baby, just one piece of advice coming from someone like you, what would that be?
Go into these just thinking that, I would say, be focused on the beauty of life, which it sounds like, it's like you realize that only when you see the baby coming out, like physically, you are in the room and the baby come out. And I remember still the process so clearly. I was helping my wife pushing, and the baby came out, and we brought her to the mom with the skin to skin, and then we brought this baby around an hour later to scale and make sure that everything was right with her. And as soon as that happened, I sit it down, and once adrenaline left my body, I collapsed, and I started shake and cry. And probably because I didn't do that at the beginning. I was reading books. I was trying to be prepared, trying to make it easy for my wife, and trying to be as helpful as possible, and not being an idiot around the room all the time. Mm-hmm. But I never realized that I never invest enough to be emotionally ready for that. Mm. To be, practically, you look at the bag, the car seat, the grade, the stuff you gotta buy, the stuff you gotta get, and you don't invest enough. You are on the making, so you don't invest time and resources on saying, okay, what am I doing here is something that it's not about changing my life selfishly. It's about giving birth to somebody else. So the biggest advice that I would give is to invest on that, to invest on getting emotionally ready about making a human being. And I don't know if that sounds obvious, but it wasn't for me. And
it doesn't sound obvious at all. Now you're gonna make me cry, which is
no, man, it's crazy, Mark. But it's like, yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like, yeah. No, you look at it, you're like, fuck, I made a baby, like, it's sorry, it's okay, it's what it's about, it's and once again, we are living in this world that is that impose you to be always on top of things, and always being on point, and always being ready. And like you said before, like, I'm afraid. And how do I say that? I'm this guy. People have been seeing me this way, but I'm afraid, and I'm freaking out, and I'm questioning myself. And you, once again, you are in that, and you are so focused on all these things that you miss the point of it. And so, like, if every man, every about to become father, my suggestion is that, like, just take your time and start a process since the beginning, because it will hit you, and it will not be it's a nice punch, but it's still a punch, it's something nice hitting you, but
and that punch doesn't stop ever.
It's crazy. It's daily, and you go back home, and like you said, every time now I drive back home, I'm like, I'm about to see my daughter, and life is good, I will think about it tomorrow morning about the rest.
Yeah. Well, Davide,
thank you so much, man. Thank you so much
for coming on
what
the
you're doing, man. It's beautiful. It's very inspiring. It is.
I'm just trying.
No, like I think everybody that is facing that, you have the half of the book, 3/4 of the book you can read that have been reading in 1995. The same, they didn't even update the cover, and the documentary and everything. Like, I think mothers deserve a little bit, of course, more attention on they have this Super Bowl final, which we will never face in life.
Yeah.
But I think there is not enough. There is not enough for people that are facing this time in life. And so, for you to share these, and which is not only hard information or number or stats or research or analytics, for you to give a little bit of emotional baggage content, I find it very inspiring, man. Thank you for having me on this.
Well, thank you for those kind words. It means so much. And of course, man, we're gonna have to do a part 2, because I feel like there's just so much we can talk about. If you'll have me again.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, buddy.